Hello everyone, this is Guab, and today we're going to be going over EA Ulm. So what is Ulm? It's a nation of the cold mountains and dense forests, of wild barbarism, of industry and strength, and the quest for the enigma of steel. Ulm is a really interesting nation for the EA for early ages. It's one of it is my favorite early age nation. They're oftentimes called a middle-aged nation in the early age because they have low magic paths and decent troops. And I think that that's a fairly apt description, but while Russ often languishes because of their expensive mages, even if they have high paths. Russ is another nation that's often called an MA nation in EA. Ulm actually has cheap mages, and it has resource and industry bonuses that really help knock it out of the park. And also, their forts produce 25% more resources. Another interesting thing is that they have every single magic path except Astral, Blood, and Glamour. So they have a really wide but really shallow path. Ulm is going to be the next nation that I'm going to be playing for Dominion 6 games, and maybe we'll think about recording that game and uploading it. We'll see how things go. Anyway, let's go ahead and hop into their pretty good troops. So first off, you have the Axe Warrior. 10 gold, 10 resources, 9 recruitment points. This is about as bog standard as you can get. Slightly better than average hit points. Size, so you can size 3, so you can fit 3 to a square. 10 protection, very human average. You notice magic resistance, it's 8, it's below average. Morale, slightly above average. Strength, above average. And attack skill, defense skill. Defense skill's low, but that's just because it has axes. Base is 10. So, overall, this is a pretty average human unit, except for the fact that it has a throwing axe, which is it can be really decent into dudes without shields. Lots of the times, though, it's pretty underwhelming. Though, the thing that's really exceptional about this unit is it has 2 20 damage axes. These are going to absolutely chunk out giants, most high prot units. They're just going to mulch kind of whatever they come into contact with. And yeah, this is a great troop. If it wasn't on EA Ulm, if it was on another nation, then... Oh, and it's also stealthy, which is very important. It's no move, cold resistance, high map move. Not high map move, but enough map move that you can often move to across planes. But yeah, if this wasn't on Ulm, this would be recruited everywhere and all the time, because it's a cheap... Well, it's a average costed, but really killy unit, so that makes it pretty good. Next up we have the Warrior, which is the other base one that Ulm has. It's the same as the previous unit, except without a throwing axe, and it has more defense because it has a broadsword. But this is, if your opponents have shields, this is the better option of the two. These are also really important to note is that these are recruitable in forests and mountains. And highlands, I forgot that one. And so these are really good. You can use these to overwhelm your opponents in the early game. Because, hey, you don't have to drop forts and everything else. And so, yeah, these are really good. They're stealthy. They're decent map move. They're low resources and recruitment. Well, they're good resources and recruitment points for, what you're getting here. Quite good, as we can see. Good stuff so far. They have an archer that has higher strength. Not that the higher strength really matters, but if you do cast Strength of Giants on them, then it matters because then they get. Nope, actually, it doesn't matter anymore. Sorry, I was doing my math wrong. Yeah, it's divided by 2 instead of 3. So yeah, it doesn't matter that they have 11 strength instead of 10 strength. But hey, they're, not terrible in melee. 4 protection is bad. They're going to lose most archer duels. But hey, they cost 10, and you can spam them out because low resources, low recruitment points. And so, hey, if you need archers, you're against elves, you're against Colossi, any other nation like that, archers are good to have. We'll go ahead and skip over these two temporarily to go to Warrior Maiden. This is their other archer. It costs 2 more, but has a lot more protection. Only get these if you're trading archer fire. Otherwise, or you're going to get into melee, but like if you're going to get into melee, you shouldn't be getting archers. So yeah, only get these if you're trading archer fire. So I guess I don't know. I mean, maybe if you're into Machaca, then maybe get these because they're going to have pygmies and stuff. But yeah, most of the time they're fine. Forest Warriors, these are the upgraded versions of the Axe Warriors. They have a throwing axe, they have their 2 axes, they have 1 more attack, 1 more defense, and 3 more prot. A lot of times people would say that this is worth, except you lose stealthy, and it costs 60% more resources. So Forest Warriors are decent. They're just going to come out a lot slower. If you could, like, if the resources and recruitment points were the same as the Axe Warrior, and the gold was just 2 more, you'd probably be recruiting these if you didn't need stealthy parties. But because the resources and recruitment points are more, most of the time you're not going to be recruiting Forest Warriors. You're just going to be recruiting Axe Warriors instead. I know that so like a lot of times in combat, the most important thing are, attack and protection and like how much damage you do. But the 3 more protection is not, like, it's valuable. It's just not valuable enough to ignore losing stealth. And the Mountain Warrior is just a copy of the Axe Warrior. These ones are better. If I don't need a stealthy army, I will end up recruiting these because these are decent line holders. 11 and 10. It's not that good, but it's not bad. And 13, this is going to hold up really well into a lot of human troops. And they're still really killy. But all these units are still not the the best part about the nation yet. And yeah, they're all slashing damage, so that's best damage type. We already went up for Warrior Maiden, Shield Maiden. These are, once again, a really good troop. We're going to notice that basically all of Ulm's troops except 2 are really good. And so 13 gold, not too bad. 13 resources, 16 recruitment points. Not too bad, actually, overall. And they have 15 defense, which is actually quite good. 16 damage short sword. Not that good. Slashing and piercing, not that good. But 15 defense is really good. These are really viable if you are massing archers for some reason, or if your opponent is matching archers for some reason. And there are actually quite a few cases in which you want to mass archers and then use these as your front line. Another thing is they actually take less resources than the Steel Maiden, which is the next unit we're going to show you. And so for your first couple turns of recruitment, it can actually be really worth it to recruit Shield Maidens because you're going to get more, more Shield Maidens out. And they actually also have a slightly lower, fatality rate in expansion, even if they're not as killy. Especially since so many indie provinces have archers. And the next we have, I'm going to skip Iron Warrior. I'm going to just go to Steel Maiden really quick. Steel Maiden is the best unit on this nation. It costs 14 gold, which is more than all your others. Well, besides the 2 that we haven't gotten to. 13 resources, 18 recruitment points. They're good. They are very good. They're exceptionally good outside of in expansion and outside of expansion. 12 attack, 12 defense, 216 attacks. These are going to mulch through most opponents unless you're going into these are going to be your bread and butter. They're stealthy, they're amazing, they're everything else. If you're going into high prot units, then you want your Axe Warriors or your regular warriors. But against generic dudes, these have 2 more attack, 2 more defense. Makes them pretty survivable into regular units, and just with 2 attacks, they just mulch through most units. Steel Maidens are what Ulm bases a lot of their strength off of. They're stealthy. They're just chef's kiss. Mountain survival, force survival, snow move. They move like a dream. And yeah, it's hard to say too much about them. They're good. If they were sacred, that would be exceptional. That would actually make a difference for Ulm. But yeah, there's and they're foreign recruit. Wait, no, I don't think. Yeah, these are not foreign recruit. Sorry. You have to recruit them in a capital or a fort. But hey, they're good. I would recruit them out of your capital. after turn 3 and not stop recruiting them for the rest of the... for most of the rest of the... even for the rest of the game, because you're always going to need some stealthy raiding squads. A commander and then like 10 of these can easily take on 6 PD and not, lose anything, and then they can stealth out again. So they can be really annoying raiding squads. The only thing that they're not better into is... they're not better into necessarily units with high prot. So if you're running into a bunch of thugs, or let's say you're playing against an Arco or a Macone, then you would recruit your other units. And they're also not better into archers. But those are really the only 2 reasons you would not recruit your Steel Maidens. And then you have your Iron Warrior. It's kind of an underwhelming unit. High attack, high damage, and has blunt, which blunt is not too bad these days. So against smaller units, this is gonna... you have a higher chance of hitting the head if you're against smaller units, but really nothing is going to be too much smaller than size 3, and you don't want to overkill smaller units, which is 25 damage. It's going to be... it's not too much reason to recruit these. They're 14 gold as well. If you need something to deal heavy damage, just get your warriors instead. If they do have 13 prot, but like even your mountain warriors, I would say, are better because it's 2 attacks of 18 and 20. I don't think that there's any reason really to ever recruit these, and these aren't even fort and recruit. You have to have a fort up for it. So an important thing to notice is actually forest warriors, mountain warriors, and the Iron Warriors all have 12 map move, and that is another big drawback for using them. It makes it really hard for them to move 2 provinces in a turn, which really impacts their mobility, and all 3 of them also don't have stealthy. So just those 2 things, even though they have 13 prot, oftentimes just knock them out of contention. Another nice thing about Steel Maidens is they take Strength of Giants, Blessed, and stuff really well because they have 2 attacks. Which is sadly less relevant these days because Strength of Giants is hard to cast, but we'll get into that. Next up, we have Steel Warrior, which is your Sacred. It's a little underwhelming for a Sacred. Sure, they have a 25 damage, great sword, so hey, that's great versus a lot of things. They have 13 prot. Cool, they have Snow move and Mountain Survival, Forest Survival. They also have the lower map move, which kind of sucks, but, it is what it is. 31 recruitment, not too much. Their main selling point is the gold cost is 28, which is really, really low for a lot of Sacreds. They are cap only, but at 28 gold cost, they have the same upkeep cost as a Steel Maiden. So, even if you have a light bless, these can be efficient units, but they're not ever going to be good units that are going to carry your nation or anything else like that. I mean, attack skill, defense skill 13, that's good. But yeah, what are you going to do with them? They're not good enough to warrant a bless themselves. If you take a strength bless, you can get these guys up to hilarious damage because it's a 2-handed weapon, and so strength applies. I think it's 1.25 times as much. So you can take a 14 strength bless, get these guys up to a hilarious 43 damage, and hey, cool, we're mulching everything, but it's not really worth it. There's not too many bless paths that are valid for these themselves. However, all of our mages are now sacred, which is some of the biggest changes in EA Ulm. So it might actually be worth taking a Thug Bless, which these units also benefit from. Last thing to mention is that they have pretty low encumbrance of only 5 for how high their prod is. So that's just an interesting thing to consider. So yeah, all their troops are actually pretty good. If they were on other nations, a lot of these would be recruited, but just because they're on Ulm, most of the time they're going to lose out to Steel Maidens. Though sometimes you're going to be wanting to recruit your archers, and sometimes you're going to be wanting to recruit your warriors, axe warriors, and shield maidens. And we'll explore later, but the fact that these can be foreign recruited, is a really big deal in Dom 6. So Warrior Scout, it's a basic scout. We pass a checkbox that we have a scout. Good for us. I mean, these are pretty good in combat, actually, but, like, hey, you're not going to be fighting with your scouts most of the time, so, it's kind of a moot point. Next up, we have our Warrior Chiefs, which are a 105 gold commander, but, hey, they're actually really good. They have leadership of 100, so they get +1 morale bonus, and they have 13 attack, 13 defense, 13 strength. That's pretty good. They don't take up too many resources, and they have prod of 13, 16 HP. So these are actually really good thug chassis. Magic resistance of 8, which is really disappointing. Most of our units have magic resistance of 8, though, and a morale 14. Morale 14 is nice, but, they're our commander. This is actually a surprisingly good thug chassis. You could put, like, a GSS on here, and, shoot, what's the Earth Nature... Actually, this is going to bother me. What's the Earth Nature armor item? I'm looking it up on my other, not acorn necklace. It's going to bother me. All item types, armor. Yes, the lion pelt. There we go. They're a good lion pelt, like, target. You can get their prod up super high. Though they already have decent armor, so you don't really need to. I mean, like, the cheapest kit you can put on them is, like, a GSS and then, like, an arm guard, and the arm guard is going to boost their prod up to 15, but then if you cast Legions of Steel, then their prod is going to go up to 21, which is good prod, but, like, I don't know, now... it's most of the time it's not worth thugging these because, hey, we have our, we're going to skip our shamans for a second, but hey, we have our warrior smiths, and warrior smiths have earth paths, and they also are going to have a fire, air, water, or another earth path, and hey, those are amazing thug packs. These only cost twice as much as our warrior chiefs, and since they're sacred, their upkeep is actually less than the warrior chiefs, so these are what you're going to be thugging with most of the time. They have the same protection, slightly less attack and defense, but I think that's only because of the weapon. I think that greatsword, it is. It's not only because of the weapon, but the weapon we can easily fix. So anyway, these will take your bless because they're sacred. They get a resource bonus of 5. They have a forge bonus of 1, meaning they can forge magic items for 1 less. And, they have great thug paths because, hey, Earth, you can cast Iron Skin, Temper Flesh. You can Legions of Steel. The Temper Armor, I think, is the new one. You can cast, the new Strength of Giants. You can cast the new one where blunt weapons and slashing weapons stun on hit. There's a lot of... you can even cast the new point buffable weapons of sharpness on him. So, like, these have a lot of really good thug opportunities. The air ones can cast Flying Shield, fly, and go into the back lines. The water ones can cast quickness, like Iron Skin, Temper Flesh, quickness. The fire ones can cast Fire Shield. You can easily get their prod up to 21 by the same way, putting an Arm Guard and casting Temper Armor. And if none of you guys know what Arm Guard does, Temper Armor. So Arm Guard actually increases your prot by 2. So you might be like, well, hey, that's only going to bring us up to 15 prot. And you'd be right, but if you cast Temper Armor, it increases the prot of Arm Guard and increases the prot of this. So then Temper Armor brings you actually up 6 prot. So that brings us up to 21 really cheaply. For Olm with a hammer and a forge bonus, that's a 2-cost item. And then we'll put like a Mace of Eruption or a GSS on them. And like, these are ready to go. And importantly, very importantly for the nation of Ulm, these guys have a magic resistance of 14. And people are going to be hard targeting you with, like Magic Pen, like Charm or Control or, just Mind Burn. Just anything that they can do to beat a magic resistance check. And so having high magic resistance on some of your thugs is really good. They have decent map move. The one thing these guys are not is stealthy. I would have said in the past that it's a big deal for them not to be stealthy and to use your shamans, which we'll get into next. But there's a couple reasons that I would say use these guys. And that's mostly just because you can thug cheaper with them, and they have better thug paths, and it kind of is just that simple. You can invest four gems of items, which is still not too many, make effective thugs, and it's probably more efficient than what they'll be doing with their spellcast, so it's probably pretty good. And yeah, a big change from Dominions 5 to Dominion 6 is now these guys are sacred, so they can take your bless and do all sorts of other cool stuff. So yeah, there's some strategies where you can run around blessing these guys and then doing really cool thug stuff. Though I don't actually know what is better. I tend to lean away from that, though. And next up we have our Shaman, which, big deal. They are they're not recruit anywhere, but they can be recruited in highlands, mountains, and forests, as long as you have a lab and a temple. That might not sound like a big deal, but forts now cost take 5 turns to come out, and then another 3, so that's 8 turns to get the full infrastructure up. While with a shaman, you could build a temple and a lab and start producing them ASAP, and it's less than half the investment. Though you're only going to be recruiting half as much, but just in terms of snowballing and accelerating in the early game, it's really important. Importantly, these guys are also stealthy, so they can travel well with your stealthy armies and cast buffs and everything else. These guys have slightly different paths. They trade away water and air for nature and death, which are probably better casting paths. But as you can see, since it's 100% random and 50% random, we get really eclectic paths on all of our mages. It's really rare to get a Earth 3, a Fire 2, Death 2, Nature 2, yada yada yada. And same thing with this. So whenever you do get a Earth 2, Water 2, an Earth 3, Water 2, well, you don't really need to keep their Earth 3s. You'll get quite a few of those. But a Water 2, Fire 2, Air 2, you want to keep those mages really safe. Because the randoms are, I think, 1 in 40. Because this is 1 in 4 quarter, and then this is 1 in 8. So 1 in 4 times 1 in 8. So it's 1 in 32. So it's kind of almost 1 in 40. Anyway, also an important cross path is Fire Death, just for being able to make the booster, and some Bane Fire stuff. Anyway, so shamans. Ironically enough, the warrior smiths are better. The shamans used to be better at research, but now they are an inept researcher. They cost a little bit less than the warrior smiths, but they have 2 less research. So now these are actually worse researchers than the warrior smiths. And so a lot of time you're going to find yourself wanting to recruit mostly warrior smiths. But I'm actually going to advocate for a strategy of recruiting mostly shaman and just going really light on the forts for a while. And then you have antlered shaman, which are way better than they were in Dominions 5. And the reason I say that is they have a new 100% random. This used to not be there, of fire, earth, death, nature. And so this lets us easily get nature 3 when before it was only a 10% random. Earth 3, death in addition to these, which, we can do transformation, twice born shenanigans, and then fire's not that important, but the other 3 of these can be very valuable. It can be easy way to get, nature 3 and then be casting nature 4 spells, because, hey, we can cast Guy's Strength. These are valuable thugs, valuable casters, valuable army casters. They can bring around troops. These are altogether really amazing troops. As soon as you get enough resources in your cap by recruiting warrior smiths the first couple turns, you are going to be recruiting antler shamans for the rest of the game. And yeah, not stopping. They're cap only, but Ulm can now rejoice that they have a worthy cap only mage. This might not seem like it's a big deal, but this helps us out immensely. Just getting regular nature 3 really valuable. After looking at all of our mages, you can see that we are the biggest earth, and then nature, and then fire, because both warrior smiths and shamans have fire in their randoms. And then we're a little bit more death, because hey, we're going to be getting some death from antlered shamans, but then we're kind of equally death, death, water, air. And we're not going to be able to do too much with those, because air, if we're stuck at air 2, like we're kind of stuck at air 2. Like, can't do too much. We can recruit like watchers and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of impossible to boost up air from there. We can cast Fairy Cord and all sorts of other stuff, like in the future, but like we're not going to be able to boost natively. Though getting water too lets us make a ring of water and then a robe of the sea, so we can get up to water 4. And hey, it's not the end of the world. If we can either forge some like mixed use boosters, like a ring of wizardry, or we can always just empower once, get us water 5, or we can also just there's a lot of summons. There's ways to boost up with water. There's ways to boost up with fire. Air we're pretty stuck with though, and there's a way to, like, we are good in every path that we have except air. Air we're pretty stuck. So let's go ahead and check what we're supposed to do next. Sorry. Oh yeah, so strategies. So some important strategies for Ulm is you are an elfing nation with Ulm, and in case you guys aren't familiar with the term, it just means that you can sneak up on people and attack them. Warrior chiefs plus like parties of 10, 15 steel maidens. You can have like 5 or 6 of them in your enemy's lands. Initiate your first turn of attack, and you just attack everything. And that's going to give you a lot of really nice bonus. Starting the game, I'm not sure if any of you guys have actually played Warhammer 40k. This might out-nerd some people. Not out-nerd, but this might out me as a nerdy person. But anyway, I love playing Necron, and Necron has a strategy called the Silver Tide. And as Ulm now, we kind of really want to embrace that. In 5, it was an option. In 6, we really can do it. And Silver Tide is just all about basically making as many basic units as we can and just overwhelming the enemy. Infrastructure takes so long. As I said, it's 8 turns. People are going to be starting to build infrastructure earliest, turn 8. Latest, turn like 10 or 12. So earliest they're going to come online is like turn 16. You can have finished your expansion turn 12. Elf, move troops over for 3 turns, and then attack someone before they get a second 4 online producing mages. It was second castle. Anyway, that is very valuable. We can recruit our a lot. We don't need a fort to be able to spend all of our gold. Every single fort in Highland, every single mountain, forest, and highland you can be recruiting warriors out of them. And then once you do that, you can go ahead and use a couple shaman to build some lab temple combos, and you can even get these out as early as like turn 6. And just start doing that, and you can get out shaman early to accompany your troops. You're going to get a mage advantage, you're going to get a troop advantage, you're going to fall a little bit behind in infrastructure, but you just want to put every single one of your dollars towards aggression and attacking someone, and your plan is to take their cap really early. So like that is how I feel like Ulm needs to be played, because hey, we have low magic resistance, we do have large magic diversity, but in order to capitalize it, we're going to need conjuration and construction in order to like boost ourselves up. So like it's not super useful in the early game. And we kind of hit a wall because we have no astral, we have low death, we have no blood, and glamour even seems like one of the best paths, and so we're kind of super low in the 4 most important paths. So we kind of want our pretender to help us fix our scaling issues. And also air is another really good path, and we don't have it. But what we do have is we do have the troop buffing paths, which are mostly nature and mostly earth. And nature actually has a lot of other really nice spells too. And what we do have is we do have sacred mages, so hey, we can design our bless around them. Couple other things is, if we're not going to be getting too many forts up, we're going to be using mostly shaman. And shaman are going to have earth, nature, and a little bit of fire and a little bit of death. So hey, getting a little bit of Evo research, not necessarily too bad. The other way we can play Ulm is we can actually take a bless for our warrior smiths, and I'll show some examples. And instead of necessarily immediately elfing someone, we can go like enchant 2, ult for construction 3 for like arm guards, GSSs, and like our bless will be like enchanted blood and revigoration and like blood surge. And it will make our warrior smiths really efficient thugs. And we'll kind of just be playing a lot more face up. Like, we'll have a big army with, like, 6 warrior smiths thugs. You know, probably 4 of them probably air to get into the back line and kill mages. And then just a couple in the front line. And if you're playing that way, you don't need to, like, be quite as aggressive. Because having good thugs... Like, hey, if we take... having good thugs is great. And let's say we're fighting Russ. Well, then we can build some lightning whips or thunder whips or whatever they're called, or some not shock rings. Well, we can build shock rings, but man, there's so many items. It's the item that makes corpse construction early. You get more corpse for corpse construction, but it also overcharges. Anyway, it gives you shock resistance. So, and we can also build the shocking grasp shield. Like if we're investing heavily into thugs, like that is going to be gem expensive, right? But we can counter whatever our opponents are doing. But Ulm is a nation about adaptation and being adaptable. And because we have a lot of things that we can do, we have a lot of ways to respond. But we kind of also have to like plan for that, because we kind of have to go into different directions. So, you know, like, hey, if we know we're going to fight Russ, we're going to need higher in construction, because, boy, we're going to need those shock resistance items. And we're going to need to site search with our air mages. Or, like, hey, if we're fighting Yomi, we're definitely going to need to scourges, you know, because, like, our magic most of the time is not going to do shit to them. Like, we can't soul slay them, you know, like, there's the poison death spell now, that is probably viable against them. But, like, we have a lot of different ways we can go. We have a lot of different tools. None of them are particularly easy, but we do benefit from, you know, big battlefield wise enchantments being pushed back, and we do massively benefit from buffs to antlered shaman and warrior smiths. Okay, went over strategies, I think, pretty well there. Let's see how we're doing on time. We're 32 minutes in. Okay, not too bad. All right, let's go ahead and move on over and go over some important spells for Ulm. So, I'm actually just going to bring up... okay, yeah, move it off construction. Okay, and we'll go Rituals Combat. So, Earth, Air, Nature, these are going to be our main early game paths. And the reason for that is yes, air is useful. We can cast Flying Shield, Gift of Flight, and that's good for thugs, but it's not really good for much else. Water, we can cast Quickness, and like there's a couple other things that we can do, but actually Claymen are good. But like, you know, I'll just mention them specifically when we come across. These are our main 3 paths though, and you might be like, well, fire's not necessarily that valuable. Like, what can we do with fire? Well, a fire 2, with a fire 1, you can give it a gem to cast Phoenix Pyre. Like, you can gem into most fire spells, I guess is probably the best way. If you have fire 1, you can gem into Fireball. Not saying it's, well, in that case it's actually good, you know, because you gem into Phoenix Power and then you cast Fireball. You can do that 7 days a week and not be mad about it. Yeah. So, but you know, so like fire, we can gem into the important things. Anyway, we'll go over the useful spells. So, evocation, we have Earthquake. This is a important battlefield wipe. Actually, we'll okay, yeah, we'll do it like this. So for in the path of evocation, there is Earthquake. It's a battlefield-wide wipe, but the problem with it is it requires Earth 4, so we're gonna need an Earth Doodav Earth Boots, and it's also 300 fatigue. So like you're not really gonna being Earth 4 is not really good for casting Earthquake. You can invest a gem into it, and so then it'll be 150 fatigue. But you really need to be Earth 4, like with Earth Boots, cast Summon Earth Power, and then also overgem it. Or else you're just going to be in trouble. And it defense negates, it's armor piercing. What we can do Earthquake traps. It's hard for us to do, but we can do them. Most of the time, though, Earthquake is going to be hurting our troops more than the opponents. So Earthquake is not really that useful for us, and we're not likely to go up that high up Evo. But it is an option, and it's an important option, especially if you have a high Earth Pretender. Blade Winds. It's a big AoE. These are importantly made of iron, so, whatever units that is good against. I think that's good against Ubar and also the elves. Could be wrong about Ubar, though. Launches a bunch of them, and yeah, it does some damage. It's not as good against units that have armor and stuff on them, but we can combine Blade Winds with where is Destruction, which Destruction destroys armor. So, hey, if we have Alt 4 Evo 4, we could have half of our mages cast Destruction, which destroys units' armor, and it's actually pretty good, especially against, like Macone and other stuff like them, and a lot of, I guess thugs are having magical armor, so it's kind of fine. But Destruction, not a bad spell. Blade Wind will absolutely tear apart Destruction units, so that is a combo you can go for. I would only go for that against troop nations, and even then, there's probably better things you can do. Breath of the Dragon, especially for your cap mages, the antlered... actually, what are they? Yeah, they are the antlered shaman. Yeah, especially for cap mages, the antler shaman. If you have Conj 4, they can get to, Nature 3, and then they can spam up Breath of the Dragon. Poison damage is especially good. The range is pretty short, though. But hey, it's there if you're going up evocation, and hey, it's a useful thing. Other things in evocation, like we can gem into Flame Eruption, we can gem into Fireball pretty easily. Fires from Afar is an option. I think it's less good than it was in Dominions 5, but and you're not going to have Fire 4, so that's kind of worthless. But Magma Eruption, hey, we can do this, and it's a great spell. I think, it's big AoE and big damage. Fatigue cost is pretty high. And if, let's say we have a fire, like an Earth 2 Fire 1, which it would be a really common pass for us. We can cast Summon Earth Power, then we cast Phoenix Power, and then we have an Earth, 3, Fire 2, and then we're going to be casting, Magma Eruption for 25 fatigue. But anyway, we'll get like 4 casts of Magma Eruption out. That is a big setup, and you have to go all the way to Evo 6. It can be worth it, though. It can be worth it. This is one of your best aggressive spells. But like really going to Evo 6, and then you have to rely on randoms. That's part of the big issue for Ulm. But yeah, hey, we can do Magma Eruption, and it's actually not bad. The Alteration, there's a lot of really good Alteration spells. There's obviously Enlarge. We're not going to Immolation, but like there's Iron Skin. Earth Meld is a great thing for your mages to do early game, especially versus high defense units or glamour units, because it totally removes their defense. And it doesn't, it does take, okay, never mind. I didn't ever realize that Earth Meld was 60 fatigue. That's pretty high. Cat Eyes for Dark Vision, but, once again, it's like AoE 1. So, like, unless we're doing it on our thugs, not that good. Animate Tree is surprisingly good, and it's low fatigue. Not a bad thing to have your mages actually doing. Torpor, yeah. Stone Skin, this is... Yeah, so this is a point buff stone skin, temper flash, half damage. Destruction was the one we talked about earlier. Curse of Stones is for fatigue plays. Not. I don't think. I mean, maybe if your opponents have a lot of. Maybe if your opponents have a lot of encumbrance. Like if you're playing a 1H game and you're fighting LA Nation, like LA dudes. I don't actually ever see Curse of Stones really cast that much, but if you're doing fatigue plays overall, I mean, it might not be bad. Do Curse of Stones plus like Heat from Hell or something. I mean, I could see that working. Elemental Fortitude, it's caster. This is really for thugs if you want some more resists. Group Bark Skin, it's AoE 3. I mean, if you have mages and you have extra mages, do Group Bark Skin, not bad. Will give your dudes a lot of prot. I mean, you're gonna have the nature mages, so like, let's say you bring like around 4 nature mages. Yeah, doing that isn't bad. This Eagle-Eyed Warriors gives prot. Gives precision. I don't know why I said prot. That can be really good if you're going for a that kind of strategy. Transmute Fire can be really good for helping getting a gold gold advantage early game. But we already have, Distill Gold, Alchemical Transmutation, which honestly, I do think Distill Gold is good to cast early game. I don't think Alchemical Transmutation is good because, hey, we need our Earth Gems. But yeah, it can help us accelerate really fast. Incinerate is good for anti-thugs because it's armor negating and does 18 plus damage. So that's not really resistible by anyone. And then Maw of the Earth is amazing. And it's 7 AoE, takes a Earth Gem, but this is going to be what you... If you're rushing Alteration, it's actually going to be for... both for thugging, for Iron Skin, Temper Flash, Elemental Fortitude, and then also for these spells. Group Bark Skin, Maws of the Earth, they're going to really make your dudes a lot stronger. Maws of the Earth is kind of necessary into elf dudes and everything else. And yeah, Maws of the Earth, arm negating, very good. Does take a gem, but it's 100% worth it. And the fatigue cost is high, so you're only going to be getting off like 2 cast of Maws, but what a 2 good cast they are. It's hard to emphasize how good Maws is. And then obviously Mother Oak as well, but we're probably not going to be getting Mother Oak unless there's no actual nations in the game. We can go up and like, hey, Petrify's good, yada yada yada, but it's once again hard to cast. So actually generic only. There we go. We'll go ahead and skip through all the alteration. Like, obviously, you guys know about Marble Warriors and, Oaken Army, which is the new Bark Skin. So, like, getting high alteration is good for us. Flame Flesh Army, cold resistance. Giant Warriors gets, your dude's giant. But anyway, yeah, so, like, Wooden Warriors. Yeah, they added the gem cost to Wooden Warriors. I'm not very happy about that. But anyway, it is a larger AoE. So, like, Alteration gives a lot of good stuff. Not bad to get Alt 5 and then go do something else and then continue to go up Alteration. Alt 9 should probably be one of your first alterations for all Army of Gold. But once again, the Army Gold, Army Lead aren't as good as they used to be, but they're still pretty necessary. Bind Scorpion Beast is a cross path that we have. Scorpion Beasts are actually pretty good. They have 16 prot, 44 HP, size 6, and they have Dark Vision, 100%. If you have the extra fire gems and you're working on rushing someone, because you're going to get Conjuration 3 anyway, Scorpion Beasts... good thing to push out. They will beef up your front line a lot. Summon Earth Power. Yeah, we need that. Call of the Wild. It's a nice ranged attack, but, it's but it's just not that necessary. Strength of Gaia, super good for us. I think this is the ethereal one? No, I didn't think so. Okay, never mind. Yeah, but Strength of Gaia, super necessary for us. Nessa Salamanders, we can, if we need to, we can gem into Phoenix Power, and then you can gem into Nessa Salamanders, and you'll probably get 2 of these off. It's actually a really good spell. Elementals are really good for Ulm. Earth Elementals may actually be the second best elemental type now after Air Elemental, because the regen is really nice, but they are what they are. Hal's still absolutely goated. If you get Conj 5, you should be casting Hal every fight. In fact, if you're rushing Conj 5, you are going to be casting Fire Elementals, Earth Elementals, and Hal, and that is enough to win most of your fights. I think if you're just going for the first 5 that gives you the most power, I do think that it's Conj 5 gives you the most immediate power, and so there's a lot to be said for that. It also enables you to summon Dryads, which once you get to Alt 6, you can transform. So, hey, that can be pretty good too for getting some nice nature water cross paths. But yeah, Conjuration 5, very valuable to us. Once we get past 5, these are kind of all just diversity summons for us, which is useful for boosting. Like, hey, we can get the Flame Elemental and Flame Spirit, and then help us boost us up Fire, and then we can get the Elemental Royalty of Fire, yada 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 yada. So like, kind of important. But that's kind of it. We can also boost up water similar way by getting the underwater troll dudes and then giving them both the boosters. But that requires going up construction and then conjuration, and I really don't think you want to rush past Conj 5, because Conj 5 gives you a lot of power, but you don't really need to keep pushing up there. Diversity, though, is great for the late game. Man, I'm taking way too long. I should have been more selective on spells, but hey, it's okay. Enchantment is actually where I think that now gives you the most strength. Early on, you only have like personal regeneration, fire shield, gift of giant strength, which is now a really small AoE. It's only AoE 3, so it's kind of only good if you're like, the mage to troop ratio is really bad in the early game. It's really bad for everyone. It's slightly less bad for you, but at Enchantment 3, you don't have the mages to buff this on everyone. If you are thugging, you can do it on like your group of thugs, but like, you really just don't like it. In my opinion, moving Strength of Giants and Legions of Steel further back is madness, and it's very sad. And that reminds me, sorry, I skipped over Temper Armors. Temper Armors is good. It's for our thugs. It's AoE 5, so it's not that bad. Doesn't take that much fatigue, especially because we're going to be having a lot of Earth 3s in combat with Summon Earth Power, and they get a lot of extra revigs. It's not actually that bad. The range is kind of what holds it back. We're only going to be able to get a couple casts off. It's really good on our thugs, though, because it gets us, 6 prot. But yeah, it's good. And hey, Soldiers of Steel is good, too. And eventually, we are going to be getting at least Construction 5 in every game, because it just gives us a lot of boosters. And, yeah, I mean, it gives us a lot of boosters. And it also gives us mage items. Something that actually, I will go to items for a second. Something that's actually really important to Ulm that not many people are talking about is, actually, I haven't seen anyone talk about it. Move off armor too. Is that compared to Dominion's 5, it's easiest to sort by construction. Compared to Dominion's 5, the matrices, here we are. The Sky Metal Matrix and Slave Matrix actually come earlier in the research. They were level 6, and now they're level 5. And they also cost 5 gems less. And since Ulm doesn't have Communion Masters, Communion Slaves, these are really useful items for us. So hey, we're going to be coming here for these, and we'll also be coming here, going here for the Shroud and just some more thug items and everything else. So Construction 5 is like really important to us. So, you know, by going Construction 5, we'll be getting Soldier's Steel and stuff like that. So if we're thugging, we're going to be wanting to probably get Construction 5. I mean, probably Alt 4 and probably Construction 3, Alt 4, Ench 2, and then up to Ench 4, and then Construction 5, if we're thugging. But yeah, Soldier Steel. Yeah, we'll be getting it. It's useful. It makes our dudes a lot more tanky. It's 3. Okay, no. Barkson is still better for making dudes tanky, but only barely. And Legion Steel doesn't cost, you know, gems and stuff. Oh wait, no, it does cost gems. I cry so hard. Soldier's Steel doesn't cost gems, and it's AoE 20. So, we'll be casting Soldier's Steel a lot. Anyway, enchantment is great. Gets us strength of giant strength. Windskin, small AoE. Earth Shatter Hammer. This is a really big deal for our thugs. Blunt and slash melee attacks will stun on hits. So this is really good for our thugs for anti-thugging, or even if we put like a Stone Bird or something on them. Stone Bird is blunt. We are going to be stunning a lot of dudes around us. So it's useful. It is mostly good though in thug versus thug. Because a lot of time you're just going to be killing people. So, you know, the stun is not that important. Point buffing it, yeah, fat chance, except for thugs. But big deal is Enchantment 5 gets us Flaming Arrows, which we can cast by if we have a Fire 1, we can gem into Fire 2. And then Fire 2, we can cast Flaming Arrows with two Fire Gems. So Flaming Arrows is actually really easy for us to cast. It is only AoE 20, but hey, we can have 2 dudes who are Fire 1s casting this. And yeah, it's really good. And hey, guess what? We can also cast Serpent Fang Arrows, surprisingly easy. It's really easy for us to get in Nature 3. And we can also cast Giant Strength Warriors really easily. And so, hey, this is going to make our dudes do, our archers do, sorry, 13 damage, plus 8 armor piercing damage, plus 5 poison damage if they're wounded, which they're going to be wounded because, hey, we're casting Giant Strength. So this is a really powerful combo that turns on for us at Enchantment 5, and no one is going to be expecting Ulm to do an archer, to be doing archer plays. So really good. This is a really effective use of our unique magic paths, because how many other nations are going to be able to do Nature 3, Fire 3, Earth 3, and then also have decent recruitable archers? The one reason I would hang back from just saying do this every single game is, hey, some nations have shields, though with Flaming Arrows and Serpent Fang Arrows, like, it becomes less of a big deal, because, like, some of them are still going to get through. Some nations are flyers, yada, 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 yada. But getting fire and poison and high normal damage on your arrows is a big, big deal. Honestly, I think that that's a very viable strategy, especially if you're interested in nations that are weak to archers. I would 100% recommend this. And then you also have point buffable weapons of sharpness, mostly for your thugs. So this is also really good for thugs versus thugs. So these are basically 2 new spells that help our thugs do thuggy things, and so that's really good. Another reason to go up enchantment. And then also Enchantment 6 has Eternal Pyre, Heat from Hell, has big Earthquake Warriors, has Riches from Beneath that we love, has Enliven Statues, gets even bigger poison buff, gets relief. We get Forest Dome, not like that will matter that early into the game. But Enchantment 6 gives us a lot of different things, opens a lot of different doors for us. And then Enchantment 7 gives us Earth the Blood Deep Well, Massive Regeneration, Serpent's Blessing. So, like, Awakened Tree Lord is even super good. So, like, Alteration really good for us. Enchantment really good for us. construction, it's kind of necessary. We'll need the sky metal matrices. We'll need shrouds. Hey, if we get a resist bless and resist revig bless, just for our mages, then hey, shrouds are useful for putting that on other dudes and everything else like that. But we're going to be wanting to, our basic things that we want is we want Conj 5, we want Alt 5, we want Alt 5, and then Alt 6 is tempting because we get wooden warriors and everything else like that, which is, just to be clear, it's really good. But I just feel like running up enchantment, getting all these gem gen globals and everything else like that, even riches from beneath, which gives us way more gold, is a little bit more valuable. We can even do heat from hell. This one we would need to get construction 5 at some point to do, but not bad at all. Not bad at all. So kind of depending on what strategy you're going, you have different research priorities. But I would say in general, rushing up to enchantment 5 viable, especially if you're fighting nations weak versus arrows. Rushing up to construction 5, not super viable, but construction 3 is useful. Alt 5 really useful, especially for moss spam, and Conj 5 really useful for Howl and elementals. What is the most reliable? I would probably say is Conj 5, because it lets you turn your gems into power. But I don't really think that you need to people are going to be just having less magic and more troops in their first war, and it's less important. So I guess I kind of am ambivalent what you're going to go. Maybe you should just be taking research for your second war. I don't know. We're going to have pretty decent research, so it's not like it matters. Just make sure you hit all of those eventually, and then either run up enchantment or run up alteration. Because you really only need Const 5 or... Const 5 and Conj 5. You don't need to go past those for a while. And then in Thom, we do have Rage of the Cornered Rat and Touch of Madness to make our own troops go berserk. And there's obviously the sight searching stuff, and then we also have Charm Animal at Thom 5. Maybe if you're playing into a heavy archer, if you're playing into a nation that, I don't know actually what happens if you cast Charm Animal on a horse. I would guess that works. I don't know. Maybe if you're fighting Bandar Log, you could do a Thom 5 rush. I think it's bad. Thom is not a priority for you, nor is Blood. For obvious reasons. Okay, and I should have organized that better, spells beforehand. But cool. Now we're on to our last category, which is Pretenders. So let's go ahead and view some of the Pretender ideas. So, hey, this is an Imprisoned Scales build. You have a start site, which gets you 1 extra nature gem. That's pretty valuable. You get Earth 3, you get Ord 2, Prod 2, Luck 2, Magic 2. So, and one thing I forgot to say is that Alt 6 gives you Transformation, which can be useful for lowering upkeep, and also transforming Dryads so they lose homesickness. And so if you're going to be leaning into Transformation, it's important to go Fortune 2 so you get better transformation results. But anyway, this is a really good chassis. It's Nature 5. These aren't too high of magic paths, but he can still teleport around. Maybe cast Gifts of Heaven, or just do kind of other, Howl, regen. Unlike a lot of the other immobile chassis, he can regen. He is 23 prot. He's pretty much golden. He's going to come out, do work, and you have great scales to do whatever you want. Definitely a viable option. Might even be the best scales options, though other scales options can get you more order. And you really, Order 3 is really nice on your nation. But, Growth 3, hey, not bad. Can't complain. Next up, we have Funsies. And this is for funsies, as I should say. It's a dormant demi-lich. I mean, I guess what can I say? You know, you get good scales. Instead of cold 2, maybe I should have gone for neutral heat. Because cold 2 can be manipulated into cold 4. But I think just cold 2 is good for you because you have, you know, cold move and everything else on your troops. But anyway, these are decent scales. Misfortune 2, I mean, kind of sucks, but you have magic 2, good troop scales. And what this is really going to enable you to do is, you know how I said, like, Silvertide and everything else? This is going to enable you to go just Evo 4. And, hey, I didn't talk about Evo at all when I was describing this nation. Why would I say run Evo 4? Well, you have Revig, you have Reanimators. Reanimators now provides Undying. And you're going to mostly be getting your sacred mages because we are not going to be building forts with funsies. We are going to be building labs and temples in woods, mountains, and highlands. And so basically, people are no longer omni resisting. And if we're building our antlered shamans, one of the randoms of our antlered shamans are going to be able to damage the opponent, whether it's, you know, poison or magic resistance, you know, through death, or, you know, like, or even earth, or, you know, like, just, like, we're going to be able to do some damage. I have played this in bot games. It is very fun, and having a dormant, immortal, teleport-capable dude is pretty good. He can cast, you know, Soul Drain and really important spells later on. And he helps with your magic diversity by having Astral Earth. This is really important because it lets you get the Golem, and it also lets you cast Sky Metal Matrices and everything else. So, can't complain at all about this. Is it viable in a multiplayer game? Honestly, I think so. Because as you find new mages and stuff like that, you can slap shrouds on them, and so like your base mages aren't that like deadly. But let's say you find some like indies that are like death 2s, and now you're casting like shadow blast, or you know, like even astrals, and now you're spamming mind burn or whatever. Could be pretty good. It's definitely not optimal, but yeah, you could win a pub lobby with this. And it's called Funsies because it's mostly fun. Here's the Fetish, which is another viable. This is perhaps the most viable thug build. You have Undying 5, Enchanted Blood, Blood Surge Heroism. This also makes your Steel Warriors, is I believe what they are. Yeah. This also makes your Steel Warriors really tanky and unlikely to die during expansion because it gives them an effective another 10 hit points, so they're 25. Enchanted Blood, you know, most of the time they're going to regen up afterwards, and they have 13 prot. You know, like they're not, you know, they're not bad or anything. Most importantly, the Fetish really helps with your thugs, and Enchanted Blood gives your dudes one more magic resistance, which is not that big a deal, but hey, it's something. And Idle Sorcery, really good late game teleportable combatant, and this gives us high astral, high death, high glamour, high blood, which are the 4 main paths that we're lacking. So like this plugs a lot of our gaps, gives us a great SC, and gives us great thug paths. And I've done thugging with it, and it's pretty good, and it gives us good scales and hey, good candles. So this is probably the best like meta build for EA Ulm, and I didn't make it. It was made by someone on Lucid's Discord in the Ulm chat. But tested it out, and I approved. It's pretty good. Lich Thugs is just another take on it, but just it's done dormant instead of imprisoned, and you don't have Blood Surge. But besides that, the scales are the same, except you have 1 less magic. But hey, heroism is poor man's magic scale. Yeah, can't complain at all about that. And then lastly, we have the Awake Scales Expander. You know, we have one order, 2 turmoil, 3 growth. Hey, that's impressive. 2 luck, misfortune, and 2 misfortune and 2 growth. This might not seem impressive because it's Earth 2, Nature 2, which are like super low paths, but this can expand really safely. I tested it out. Did not lose him at all, but I would not run him into big group of barbs. It's 21 protection, and then when you cast Iron Skin, he'll be at 26. So like really good. Can cast regen on himself. He has he has recoup. Obviously, this guy scales really poorly. And the fact that we have to take, he has turmoil, so like, we have to take order. We can only take order 1, and we can take productivity 2. It's less viable. Yeah, I don't mind this. I probably would take 1 less productivity, and I would probably actually just take cold 1. But like I think that the other options are better. Yes, this will help us run over someone early, but I think we're already going to be running over someone early. But hey, if you want to play an Awake expander, this is a cheap Awake Scales expander that still does work. If you're fighting him, I would not use him as a super combatant, but you can use him in armies to kind of like cinch the deal, and he's good at that. Whew. Okay. 105. That's not too good, but it's not too bad either. So, yeah, thank you guys for listening to this. Listening to the end. My goal of this video was to do less ums and uhs because I listened to my last one and I really did a lot of them. But reflecting, I did a lot in this video too. If you're listening to this point, you might as well like, comment, and subscribe because, hey man, you just listened to an hour and 5 minutes of me chatting away. Next video, according to demand, is M.A. Abyssia. Though before I release M.A. Abyssia, I might start an Ulm game, and then maybe I'll start like posting stuff for that. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and wish me the best of luck. Peace.